Today, the world of art, music, and storytelling feels a little emptier. Four remarkable figures, each from very different walks of life, have taken their final bow. From the glowing lights of Hollywood writing rooms to the pounding drums of heavy metal stages, from the timeless harmonies of classic rock to the haunting pages of historical horror novels. Each of these voices left a mark that will not be forgotten. Their stories remind us that greatness is not found only in fame, but in the hearts they touched and the legacies they built. Tonight, we pause to honor their journeys, their struggles, and their final chapter. These are the American legends we lost today. The news was confirmed in Santa Monica, where Emmy-winning writer and producer Ted Mann took his final breath at the age of 72. He died at St. John's Health Center after a hard battle with lung cancer, surrounded by family. His daughter, Lucy Bujold, spoke softly about her father's courage, describing him as a man who never gave up on his stories or on the people he loved. For those who followed American television in the last 3 decades, Ted Mann's name was woven into some of the most defining shows of our time. He stood beside David Milch on NYPD Blue, a series that reshaped police drama for a new generation. He went on to bring his sharp, emotional writing to Deadwood, a show remembered for its raw honesty and poetic grit. His work carried the weight of truth, showing both the flaws and the humanity in every character. Mann's path into storytelling was not typical. Born in Vancouver, he discovered writing through humor and satire, publishing for National Lampoon before entering film and television. His early work included the screenplay for Robert Altman's O.C. and Stiggs in 1985, a comedy that carried his distinct, offbeat touch. Later, he co-wrote Space Truckers in 1996 with Stuart Gordon, bringing imagination and wit to the big screen. These beginnings were stepping stones toward a much deeper calling in television drama. Colleagues often describe Ted Mann as both fearless and kind. On the set of Deadwood, actors recalled how he could transform a simple idea into a scene that bled with raw emotion. Ted understood that people are complicated, one co-writer shared in a recent tribute. He could write about violence, betrayal, or love, and somehow you saw yourself in every line. By 2015, Mann's journey brought him to Showtime's Homeland. As a writer and producer during its later seasons, he helped guide the series through moments of moral tension, weaving stories of loyalty, sacrifice, and truth in an uncertain world. His work was not just about creating drama, but about reflecting the questions that haunt real life: justice, betrayal, and survival. Despite the success, Mann lived quietly. He did not seek the spotlight, preferring to let his scripts speak for him. Those who knew him personally described a man with a gentle laugh and a restless curiosity. His daughter Lucy remembered evenings when her father would sit for hours, lost in old books or quietly shaping a scene in his mind. "He was always working, always imagining," she said, "but he never forgot to be present with us." The news of his passing spread quickly across the television community. Writers, actors, and producers paid tribute online. One longtime colleague wrote, "Television lost a master today. Ted Mann made stories feel alive, and he gave every character a soul." Fans of Deadwood and NYPD Blue shared their memories too, remembering how his words carried them into worlds both harsh and human. Mann's career showed the power of persistence. From comedy magazines to acclaimed dramas, he carried a voice that adapted and grew. He was never afraid to tackle subjects others avoided: crime, corruption, loss, redemption. In doing so, he carved a place among the storytellers who leave a permanent imprint. As his family grieves, the television world pauses to honor him. His daughter's words remain a quiet reminder of the man behind the pen. "My father lived for his work, but even more, he lived for the people around him." That balance, between art and love, was his greatest gift. Ted Mann leaves behind not just shows, awards, or credits, but a way of seeing people with honesty and compassion. His writing will continue to breathe through every rewatch, every student of television, and every creator who dares to tell a story with truth. Tonight, we remember Ted Mann not only as a producer, a writer, or an Emmy winner, but as a man who understood the fragile line between light and darkness. His words will remain on our screens, and his spirit will echo in the stories still to come. He will be remembered as the storyteller of grit and grace. The music world was struck by heartbreaking news this week. Alan Blickel, the original drummer of the Grammy-nominated band Baroness, has passed away at just 42 years old. His death was confirmed by his former bandmates, who shared the loss with deep sadness and disbelief. The silence left behind is heavy, especially for a man whose life was built on rhythm and sound. Alan Blickel was more than a drummer. He was a founding member of Baroness, helping to shape the band's powerful sound in its earliest years. Formed in Savannah, Georgia, Baroness quickly earned recognition for their unique mix of sludge metal, progressive rock, and raw emotion. Blickel's drums were the heartbeat of their music, steady, inventive, and full of energy. In 2007, Baroness released their debut full-length album, Red Album, which was met with critical acclaim. It was Alan's drumming that gave the record its relentless drive. 2 years later came the Blue record, which further solidified the band's reputation in heavy metal circles. His playing was fierce yet controlled, filled with passion but always serving the song. Fans often described Alan's style as both explosive and disciplined. Every performance carried intensity, but there was also a sense of artistry in his work. Whether on stage in front of thousands or recording in the studio, he brought the same focus, the same devotion. Tragedy struck in 2012 when Baroness was involved in a serious bus crash in England. Several band members were badly injured, including Alan. The accident was a turning point. In the months that followed, Blickel and bassist Matt Majoni parted ways with the band, choosing to step away from the demanding touring lifestyle in order to heal. Though his time with Baroness had ended, the mark he left on their music remained. Frontman John Baisley shared a heartfelt message after Alan's passing. "It breaks my heart to have to share the news that my dear friend, creative partner, and former bandmate Alan Blickel passed away a few days ago," he wrote. "I'm still in shock that he's gone. Alan, I love you and miss you. I treasure every moment we shared." Those words reflect not only the bond of bandmates, but the connection of lifelong friends. Within the Baroness community, Alan was remembered as more than a drummer. He was a dreamer, a creator, and a gentle spirit. Many fans echoed Baisley's grief online, posting concert photos, videos, and messages of gratitude. "Your drums carried us through some of the best years of our lives," one fan wrote. "You'll never be forgotten." Alan's journey reminds us of the fragility of life, even for those who seem larger than life on stage. At 42, he was still young, still capable of more music, more creation, more love. His passing is a reminder of how suddenly a life can be taken and how deeply it can affect those left behind. But what remains is the sound he gave to the world. Every time the opening beats of Isak from the Red Album play, Alan's presence returns. Every thunderous rhythm on Blue record still echoes with his spirit. His music continues to reach new ears, new listeners who may not even know the story behind the man holding the sticks. For those who knew him personally, Alan was remembered as humble and kind. Away from the stage, he carried himself without ego, often preferring to let the music speak. Friends described him as someone who could light up a room with his humor and who treated everyone with respect. His artistry was matched by his humanity. Tributes continue to pour in, not only from Baroness fans but from across the wider metal community. Musicians who shared stages with him, fans who followed the band from their earliest shows, and even casual listeners spoke about the impact he had. His death may have ended his time here, but it cannot silence the sound he left behind. In the history of heavy music, drummers often stand as the foundation. They are the pulse, the driving force that holds everything together. Alan Blickel was that and more. He was the energy behind Baroness's first steps, the beat that carried their sound to global recognition. His legacy will always be tied to those defining records, to the sound of a band finding its voice, and to the drummer who helped build it. As the world reflects on his passing, there is sadness, but also gratitude. Gratitude for the music, for the memories, for the reminder of how art can unite people across distance and time. His rhythm still plays, not just in recordings, but in the hearts of those who felt his music. Alan Blickel's journey ended too soon, but his beat continues. In every fan who plays those albums again, in every drummer inspired by his style, and in every memory shared by those who loved him, he will be remembered as the beat of Baroness. The music world is mourning the loss of Mark Volman, co-founder of the Turtles, and one half of the duo Flo and Eddie. He passed away at the age of 78 after a brief and unexpected illness. His death marks the end of a remarkable chapter in American rock history, one built on harmonies, laughter, and a song that became an anthem of love for generations. Mark Volman's story began in Los Angeles, where he grew up surrounded by the energy of 1960s California. Alongside his friend Howard Kalin, he formed the Turtles, a band that would soon capture the spirit of its era. Their biggest hit, Happy Together, reached #1 on the Billboard charts in 1967. The song became an instant classic, offering a joyful chorus that listeners still sing more than 50 years later. Volman's voice, playful yet heartfelt, carried the song into history. But his work went far beyond that single moment. With the Turtles, he helped shape a catalog of hits that defined the sound of a decade. Later, as Flo and Eddie, he and Kalin brought their humor and vocal talent to new audiences, blending comedy with music in a way that was entirely their own. His creativity extended to collaborations with some of the most iconic figures in music. Volman and Kalin toured and recorded with Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, bringing their unique style to Zappa's avant-garde performances. They also provided backing vocals for major artists including T-Rex, Bruce Springsteen, and Blondie. For many, Mark Volman's voice was there in the background of songs they loved, even if they didn't know his name. The announcement of his passing brought tributes from across the music industry. A longtime friend wrote on social media, "Mark was one of the kindest, funniest souls I ever met. His music made the world brighter, and his laugh was unforgettable." Another tribute read, "There will never be another Flo like him. Thank you, Mark, for the joy you gave us all." What made Volman special was not only his talent, but also his humor and warmth. On stage, he was a performer who could make crowds sing, dance, and laugh all at once. Offstage, he was remembered as a teacher, a mentor, and a storyteller. In later years, he became a professor of music industry studies at Belmont University in Nashville, sharing his knowledge with students who dreamed of following in his footsteps. Mark Volman's impact on rock music was both wide and deep. His fight for artists' rights showed his determination to protect the legacy of musicians everywhere. He was part of landmark legal battles that helped secure royalties for recordings made before 1972, standing up for artists who too often had been left behind by the system. That advocacy was a different kind of performance, one that earned him respect from fellow musicians and younger generations alike. Even in his later years, Volman never stopped creating. In 2023, he published his memoir, a reflection on his life in music, humor, and survival. The book revealed both his lighthearted nature and the struggles he endured, including health challenges and battles with the industry. His honesty made readers feel closer to the man behind the songs. For millions, though, his legacy is still tied to Happy Together. That joyful chorus, "I can't see me loving nobody but you," became more than just a lyric. It became a soundtrack for weddings, reunions, and simple moments of joy. It was a song that carried across generations, from vinyl records to streaming playlists, always bringing people together. Today, fans around the world play that song again, this time with a touch of sadness. The voice that once sang of happiness is gone, but the music remains as alive as ever. It is the gift Mark Volman left behind, the reminder that happiness can be simple, and love can be timeless. In remembering him, we see a man who gave himself fully to his art, a man who made people smile, whether through a stage performance, a classroom lecture, or the familiar sound of his voice on a record. His music was not just entertainment, it was comfort, joy, and connection. Mark Volman's journey ended quietly, but his legacy continues to sing loudly. From the flower power days of the 1960s to the classrooms of Nashville, his influence touched countless lives. His laughter, his music, and his spirit will echo on, forever woven into the soundtrack of our lives. He will be remembered as the voice behind Happy Together, and as a legend who made the world feel just a little more joyful. The literary world has lost a remarkable voice. Chelsea Quinn Yarbrough, the author who gave readers more than 70 novels across genres, has passed away at the age of 82. She died on August 31st, just 2 weeks before what would have been her 83rd birthday. With her passing, a chapter closes on one of the most versatile and imaginative storytellers of her time. Born in Berkeley, California in 1942, Yarbrough grew up surrounded by books and ideas. She attended Berkeley schools and later studied at San Francisco State College. Even as a student, she was drawn to stories that reached beyond the ordinary. In time, she would shape a career that stretched across science fiction, westerns, young adult adventure, and horror. Her most famous creation was Count Saint-Germain, the immortal vampire who walked through centuries of human history. Beginning in the 1970s, Yarbrough built an entire series around him, blending supernatural elements with detailed historical research. Each novel was more than a Gothic tale. It was also a window into different eras, cultures, and human struggles. Readers praised her ability to make the past feel alive while weaving it with the timeless mysteries of immortality and love. For more than 45 years, Yarbrough never stopped writing. She created not only the Saint Germain series, but also dozens of standalone works. From the western landscapes of America to the courts of ancient Europe, her stories carried readers far from their everyday lives. Her imagination had no limits, and her work ethic matched it. But Yarbrough's talents were not bound to fiction alone. She was also the channel for Messages from Michael, a series of books that explored wisdom said to come from a spiritual entity named Michael. These works gained a devoted following, offering guidance and reflection in a voice that was both comforting and profound. Fans often said that Yarbrough's words gave them more than stories. They gave them comfort, inspiration, and even courage. On social media, one longtime reader wrote, "Chelsea's books were companions through the hardest years of my life. Her characters taught me that even in darkness, there is always resilience." Another tribute read, "She created worlds where I could escape, but also where I could learn. That is the gift of a true writer." Her colleagues in the writing community spoke of her kindness and generosity. Many remembered her willingness to mentor young writers, to share advice about the craft and the industry. She was known for her humor, her patience, and her dedication to the belief that stories matter. Though she wrote about vampires, immortality, and the supernatural, Yarbrough herself lived with a steady simplicity. She did not chase fame. Instead, she focused on her work, quietly building a career that would touch countless lives. Each book was her way of connecting, of leaving a piece of herself with the world. In remembering her, readers return again and again to Count Saint-Germain. Through him, Yarbrough explored what it means to endure across time, to love, to lose, and to witness the fragile beauty of human life. It is fitting that her most enduring character was one who could never die, because in her pages, neither does she. Chelsea Quinn Yarbrough's passing leaves an empty space in the world of literature, but her legacy remains full and vibrant. Every book on a shelf, every story that carries her name, is a reminder of her gift. She showed us that imagination can stretch across centuries, that horror can hold wisdom, and that storytelling is one of the purest forms of immortality. Her words will continue to guide, to inspire, and to comfort. And her memory will live in the quiet moments when a reader turns a page and enters a world she built with care. She will be remembered as the mistress of the eternal tale,